Ever get that feeling that, there's maybe more to understanding yourself, a deeper level that could really help you make better decisions in life, maybe about work or even relationships?
Well, absolutely. It's a really common feeling, isn't it? That sense that if you just understood yourself a bit better, things might click into place more easily.
Yeah, exactly.
And, well, the good news is there are tools out there actually designed to help you do just that, to
Yeah.
get that richer self-awareness.
Okay. Okay, let's dig into this then, because today we're doing a deep dive into one specific tool, the Rutherford-Intel assessment.
Mm-hmm.
So think of this as maybe a way to get past those really broad personality labels you sometimes see, get into the real nuances.
Precisely. Our mission today really is to explore what this Rutherford-Intel assessment is all about. We'll look at the science it's based on,
Right.
and ultimately see how it might empower you, the listener, to get a much more complete, more insightful picture of your own personality.
And we're not just talking surface stuff here, are we? This assessment, it sounds like it really tries to get into the more subtle things, those like underlying drivers.
That's the idea. The
Yeah.
things that when you piece them all together create a much fuller understanding of who you are.
Which I guess makes a difference in practice.
Oh, definitely. When you have that clear self-understanding, it really does have a ripple effect.
Mhm.
Um, Communication gets easier, right?
Yeah.
You build stronger relationships.
Yeah.
You can make career choices that actually feel right, that align with your real strengths and values.
Yeah.
It's kind of the foundation for feeling more confident, more purposeful.
Okay, so let's start right there then, the basics. What exactly is this Rutherford-Intel assessment?
So RutherfordINTEL.io, it's essentially an app-based personality assessment.
Okay, app-based.
Yeah, and it's designed to give you that much deeper understanding of your personality. And interestingly, it uses some pretty advanced analytics
For what purpose?
to really pinpoint your inherent strengths, but also, crucially, to highlight areas where you might have potential for growth, for personal development.
Ah, so it's not just a snapshot of here's who you are, but also here's where you could go.
Exactly. That's a key part of it. And it also has the potential to connect you with personalized guidance, maybe mentors, coaches, people who can actually support your professional journey based on your profile.
Interesting. And the company behind it, Rutherford International, what's their sort of mission?
Well, their stated purpose is quite ambitious, actually. They say it's to foster a world of mutually supportive professionals where possibilities are endless and every individual is empowered.
That's a big goal. How does an assessment tool fit into that?
Well, the fundamental link, as they see it, and their research seems to back this up, is self-awareness.
Okay.
They believe that deep self-awareness is truly the bedrock, for both personal happiness and professional success.
Right, if you know yourself.
You're just better equipped, aren't you, to reach
Yeah.
your potential, to interact effectively, to contribute meaningfully. It all starts there.
Okay, so we get the why. But let's get into the how. What's the actual science behind Rutherford-Intel? What makes it different?
Right, this is where it gets pretty interesting. It's not just based on, general ideas. It's built on a science-backed model.
Okay.
And this model identifies 12 distinct personality types. But then it breaks those down even further into 60 subtypes.
60. Wow, okay. That sounds incredibly detailed.
It really is. And to give you a sense of that depth, the creators use this interesting analogy with the periodic table of elements.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know how the periodic table has, 96 natural elements, each unique?
Mhm.
Well, the Rutherford-Intel model identifies 85 distinct personality traits. So the idea is, just like elements make up matter, these fundamental traits make up personality.
85 traits. Okay, wow. So how did they come together? That's a lot of pieces.
Think of it like ingredients in a recipe. These 85 traits, they tend to cluster together in predictable ways. And these clusters form broader patterns, which they call personality factors.
Okay, factors.
Yeah, and the research identified 6 of these big factors. And for each one, we all fall somewhere on a spectrum, like a slider,
Yeah.
from one end to the other.
Can you give an example?
Sure. So one factor spectrum runs from being more opportunistic in your approach all the way over to being more altruistic.
Okay, so it's not just you are this or you are that, but where you sit on that range.
Exactly. It's much more nuanced. And here's a key difference from some other models. Rutherford-Intel goes deeper within each factor.
How so?
Well, within each of those 6 personality factors, they've pinpointed between 15 and 20 distinct traits that are statistically independent.
Statistically independent, meaning?
Meaning they each provide unique information. They're not just measuring the same thing in slightly different ways. This gives you a much richer, more granular picture than a model with fewer components.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So you have the traits, they form the factors. How does that lead to the 12 main personality types you mentioned?
Through a lot of statistical analysis, basically.
Yeah.
Looking at how these traits and factors interact in large groups of people, they found these 12 distinct and statistically significant personality types emerging.
Okay.
And what's quite interesting is this idea of opposites. Each of the 12 core types has a sort of polar opposite type.
Like the opportunist and altruist you mentioned?
Exactly like that. It's the interplay between these opposing tendencies that defines those 6 personality factor spectrums we talked about. And yeah, within each factor, they found those 15, 20 independent traits contributing to the overall picture.
Got it. So those 6 spectrums, could you quickly list them out for us?
Sure, you've got opportunist versus altruist, then imaginative versus inventive, analytic versus holistic, social versus insightful, individualistic versus responsible. And the last one is results-oriented versus process-oriented.
Okay, that gives a good overview. Now, I remember the outline mentioning something about 4 quadrants that these 12 types fall into. What's that about?
Ah, yes. That's just another way to kind of group the 12 types. It
But
puts them into broader categories based on their main focus areas or characteristic strengths.
what are the quadrants?
There are 4: leadership, intellectual, interpersonal, and productive.
Okay.
So in the leadership quadrant, you find the opportunist, the holistic, and the result-driven types.
Makes sense.
The intellectual one includes analytic, imaginative, and insightful. Interpersonal has altruist, social, and individualist. And finally, productive includes process-driven, inventive, and responsible.
So it's like another layer of organization helping see connections between types with similar, maybe overarching tendencies.
Yeah, exactly. But it gets even more complex, which, reflects real people. The model acknowledges that people aren't always just one single type.
Right. People are complicated.
Totally. So they talk about hybrid personalities. Someone might strongly identify with 2 types. Then there are chameleons, who score high on 3 types in a fairly narrow range. Suggests they're very adaptable.
Chameleon, I like that.
Yeah. And finally, versatile personalities score equally high on 3 or even 4 different types.
Wow.
When you consider all these combinations, they suggest there could be as many as 72 potential variations.
72. Okay, that really does get away from just putting people in simple boxes.
It really does. And that level of detail, that nuance, is a big reason why RutherfordINTEL claims, a high degree of reliability and depth compared to simpler assessments.
And the goal is?
The goal is to give you information that's actually relevant, accurate, and significant, especially when you're making those really big life decisions, career, relationships, that sort of thing.
Okay. So we have these 12 types, the factors, the traits. Maybe we could zoom in on one type, just to see how this all plays out in practice.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Given the interest often in leadership, maybe we could look at the holistic personality type.
Yeah.
It's one of the types that falls into that leadership quadrant we mentioned.
Because a holistic personality sounds intriguing. What are some of the core characteristics? What defines this type?
Well, at their heart, holistic personalities are often marked by what psychologists call fluid thinking.
Fluid thinking.
Yeah, basically very cognitively flexible, open to new ideas, able to shift perspective. They also tend to be strong systems thinkers.
Meaning they see the big picture, connections.
Exactly. They have a natural knack for seeing how different parts of a system, whether it's a team, an organization, or even a social issue, interconnect and influence each other.
Yeah.
And they often lead with a strong sense of intuition.
Fluid thinking, systems thinking, intuition. Sounds like someone who can adapt and see where things are heading.
That's a good way to put it. And this shows up in a range of natural strengths or competencies. They're often seen as progressive, adaptable. They tend to have strong strategic vision, imaginative insight. Leadership comes quite naturally. And often, there's a real focus on social impact, a drive to make a positive difference.
Okay.
They're also typically self-motivated, results-driven, but importantly, with a good sense of balance. And they often have a degree of political savvy. They understand how to navigate complex group dynamics.
That sounds like a really powerful combination of traits. The outline mentioned their Tao of self-discovery. What does that refer to?
Ah, yes. That's kind of a metaphorical way to describe their typical approach to personal growth.
Okay.
It points to how they tend to embrace change, how they actively seek self-knowledge, deeper understanding, and how they strive to live holistically. Recognizing that mind, body, spirit are all connected.
So it's not just about what they achieve outwardly, but also that inner journey, finding balance.
Exactly that. That drive for self-understanding is really central for them. They often feel it's the key to gaining wisdom and sharper perception. They're naturally adaptable, usually quite open-minded, and always seem to be in a process of growth. And that holistic worldview is key, seeing the interconnectedness of everything. That includes their own impact on others, on the environment, and always striving for that balance.
And how does that holistic view translate into, say, their leadership style?
Well, they tend to inspire and guide rather than dictate or control.
Oh, okay.
The focus is more on empowering others, helping them unlock their own potential. Their communication style is often described as authentic and inclusive. They try to make people feel heard, valued, part of something bigger.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine a team conflict. A holistic leader might not jump in with a solution immediately. Instead, they'd probably facilitate a discussion, really try to understand everyone's viewpoint, and guide the team towards a resolution that works for the whole system, not just one part.
Yeah, that sounds very collaborative, empowering, like you said. How do they typically tackle problems?
They naturally look for that broader context first, using that systems thinking, that fluid thinking we talked about.
Right.
They definitely value past experience learning from it, but they aren't usually rigid or stuck in old ways. The main focus is understanding the whole system, how the pieces interact. They tend to see change as natural, even necessary sometimes, so they adapt their strategies.
Yeah.
And that intuition often plays a big role in spotting pathways or solutions others might miss.
So, boiling it down, what really makes a holistic personality stand out from the other types? What's unique?
I'd say it's that really deep, unwavering desire for self-understanding, combined with that innate adaptability and the truly holistic worldview.
Okay.
Plus, their natural pull towards inspiring leadership, that authentic communication, and this constant striving for congruence, making sure their actions align with their core values. Those are probably the key differentiators.
And how do they tend to see themselves? If you asked a holistic type to describe themselves.
Generally, I think they'd see themselves as adaptable, yes, and driven, but also as people who can bring hope, inspire positive change. They're usually very aware of their impact, their influence on others and the world. And they tend to keep a pretty hopeful, optimistic outlook, even when things get tough.
Okay, let's talk careers. This is something I bet a lot of listeners are thinking about. What kinds of jobs or career paths tend to click for someone with a holistic personality?
Well, given that mix of strengths, they often find themselves suited to quite a range of things, especially roles where they can use their leadership skills and that desire to make a positive impact.
Like what specifically?
Entrepreneurship is common. Yeah. Leadership roles like CEO, senior manager, roles focused on change and innovation, maybe a consultant, product manager, that plays to their adaptability and strategic thinking.
Okay.
Also, human-centered fields, HR, coaching, maybe counseling, that taps into their interpersonal skills and desire to help others grow. Even creative or strategic fields like marketing or design can be a good fit, using their imagination and big picture view. And self-employment is definitely an option too, giving them the autonomy they often value.
So lots of options.
Definitely. But the key thing for them, perhaps more than some other types, is that self-awareness really helps them choose the right path. Knowing their strengths and values is critical for finding fulfilling work.
That makes perfect sense. What about on the personal side, relationships? What might an ideal life partner look like for a holistic personality according to this model?
Well, the theory suggests another holistic personality could be a really strong match. Shared understanding, shared drive for growth.
Right, speaking the same language, sort of.
Exactly. Or, alternatively, a compatible hybrid personality. Someone who maybe isn't fully holistic but shares key aspects of that worldview, those core values.
Which hybrids might work?
The theory mentions possibilities, like combinations with opportunist or altruist traits, for example. It suggests finding that balance between, say, individual drive and concern for others might work well. The core idea is what they call interpersonal congruency.
Congruency.
Meaning, basically, relationships tend to work better when partners have a degree of alignment in their personalities and core values. And for holistics, their style is usually about fostering balance, collaboration, empowerment, not control.
Okay, so finding someone who resonates with that collaborative, empowering style. If you're trying to communicate effectively with a holistic personality, what's the best approach?
Number one is probably be genuine, be authentic. They really value sincerity.
Okay.
Active listening is huge. Show empathy. They want to feel truly heard and understood. And when you're talking, try to frame things in the bigger picture. Show how things connect.
Give context.
Yes, exactly. Focus on collaboration, finding common ground, respect their autonomy, their need to think things through themselves. Be open, be honest, and if you can highlight the potential positive impact of something, that usually resonates strongly.
Got it. And their own communication style reflects this.
Generally, yes. It tends to be inclusive, focused on interconnectedness, aware of context, often aimed at transformation, building strong relationships, and driven by a sense of purpose.
Very thoughtful, very intentional, it sounds like. One last area. What about health and wellness? Does that holistic nature show up there too? Diet, lifestyle?
Oh, absolutely. It permeates pretty much everything for them. Their approach usually centers on balance and that mind-body-spirit connection.
So not big on fad diets.
Probably not. They tend to be naturally skeptical of quick fixes or trends. They're more likely to listen to their own body, practice mindful eating, respect their individual constitution. Prioritizing whole, unprocessed foods is common. A belief in moderation. And really nurturing all aspects of well-being, maybe through things like meditation, exercise, spending time outdoors. It's about creating a sustainable lifestyle that supports their overall health and growth.
Makes sense. It all ties back together.
It does. And just to reiterate, that unique blend of vision, empathy, and intuition we talked about, that's what often naturally draws holistic personalities towards leadership. They're often quite effective at guiding and inspiring people towards positive change.
This has been really fascinating. A true deep dive into the Rutherford-INTEL assessment, and especially this holistic personality type. It really highlights, I think, the potential for much deeper self-understanding and understanding others, too.
It does indeed. And what's so valuable, I think, is how that kind of detailed self-awareness can really empower you, help you make more conscious, informed choices in, well, pretty much every area of your life, leading to more purpose, more fulfillment.
So for anyone listening now who's feeling that spark, thinking, I wonder what my profile looks like. What's the next step?
Well, the most direct step, the most empowering one, is probably to take the Rutherford-INTEL assessment yourself.
Just jump in.
Yeah, think of it as starting your own personal journey of self-discovery. It can give you really invaluable personalized insights into your unique personality type. Insights that go way beyond just general descriptions.
And those insights could really make a difference day to day, couldn't they?
Oh, absolutely. It can help you build deeper, more meaningful relationships because you understand your own style better and what you genuinely need from others.
Right.
It can even offer guidance when thinking about a life partner by shedding light on those compatibility factors. And fundamentally, it just helps you identify and really own the core traits that make you you.
Might even help understand your colleagues better, too.
Definitely. Understand team dynamics, communication styles. It has broad applications.
So the call to action is pretty clear then. If you're curious, if you want to unlock more potential, understand yourself better, build stronger connections personally, professionally, taking the Rutherford-INTEL assessment seems like a really powerful first step.
It really is. It's a chance to move past guesswork and get a more data-driven understanding of your strengths, your tendencies, how you navigate the world.
And if people want to learn more or maybe even connect with the team behind the assessment, is there a way to do that?
Yes, absolutely. You can reach out directly to Forbes Rutherford. His email is forbes@rutherfordinternational.com.
Okay, great. A direct point of contact to start that journey. Forbes@rutherfordinternational.com. Well, thank you so much for walking us through all of this. It's been incredibly insightful.
My pleasure. It's fascinating stuff.
And thank you, our listener, for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's given you some valuable food for thought and maybe sparked a desire to explore your own inner landscape a bit more.